Dear friends, welcome to this Electrical Engineering Knowledge Sharing channel, AMP Power System Workshop. We have already completed 10 sessions. Today we are going to discuss session 11, where we'll be discussing about switchgear protection. So before starting the switchgear protection, we want to discuss what is really a switchgear. So if we look into the switchgear, it is a generalized term we use from low voltage to ultra high voltage. Now switchgear is a major equipment in electrical power system. The function of switchgear to receive a certain amount of power as per demand and distribute that power to through various feeder to the various consumers or various load in safe manner. So switchgear is a piece of equipment which is receiving power from some sources and distributing that power in a safe manner through various feeders or through various piece of equipments to the various loads or various consumers. So this is the main job of a switchgear. But when we are talking about this safely manner, that what does it really mean? That means when the switchgear will be doing its job, purpose of the switchgear distribution of power, but at the same time it should maintain the safety of the plant, equipments, and the most importantly the operating team or the personnel. So switchgear not only receiving and distributing power, but it will also receiving and distributing power through the various feeders in such a manner it will maintain the healthy operation of the plant and equipment as well as healthiness of the manpower, or look into the high level of safety of the personnel. That is the job. Now when we are dealing this power, so it needs a lot of operation which will be executed through the switchgear. So when we talk about the safe manner to distribute power, this safe manner means it will do the safe operation. That means switching operation will be done safely. It will look after all the protection of the various feeders which is going to the remote consumers. It will monitor the status of the various feeders. It will monitor the various metering parameters. It will meter the various parameters. It will include to operate this protection and the metering units, all the sensors which are required. Then it will also facilitate to transfer the data from the switchgear to the remote control room or remote devices. That is for communication also. It will do the necessary communications. So all these activities will be doing by the switchgear in same manner in order to distribute the power to various consumers based on which the receiving power will be decided. So this is the main job of a switchgear. Now when we are talking about the switching operation, this switching operation there are two parts. One part is your normal switching operation, another is a abnormal switching operation. That is also will be done by the switchgear. Now when we are talking about this equipment switching normal operation, abnormal operation, we know that when we do the switching operation, we need a switching device. What is a switching device? In the starting from the domestic application, a small switch, to up to the circuit breakers, all are switching device. So switching device, it can include normal switch, it could include load isolator, it could isolate offload isolator, it can include circuit breaker. All are switching device which can isolate the power from supply to source side to load side. That is all are switching device. So this switching device can be operated normally, it can be operated abnormal condition also. That will be done by the switchgear, and switchgear should include that switching device inside his premises. So this equipment will be this switching device to operate normal and abnormal condition is part of the switchgear. Second thing, when you look into the operation, abnormal operation, what do you mean by abnormal operation? Means when there is a fault in the switchgear or its component, then it should operate, protection function should operate, and under that abnormal condition, the protection function would initiate a switching off facility to the switching device. Then it will meter all the various switchgear which is feeding the various consumers. all the consumers or all the loads, how much power, how much current, what is the voltage, what is the frequency, all this parameter to be monitored, and that monitoring device also will be located in the switch gear. Similarly, this monitoring or metering functions or devices which will be operating through a sensor like a CT, PT, all these devices also to be located in the switch gear as far as practicable. Then it will also monitor the various status of these devices, protection devices, switching devices, metering devices, all healthiness. It status of switching devices, it has worked or it has open or it is closed. That status, all these things will be also monitoring by this switch gear, and it will be facilitating to transfer all these status, all the abnormal conditions to the remote devices, remote control room or remote DCS or remote SCADA system. That is also the job of the switch gear. This is the various equipment. In addition to this, most importantly, the switch gear has a major component that which will receive power and distribute power. So receiving power and distributing power, it is done by a busbar system. Busbar is a metal piece which is lying along the or laid horizontally or vertically along the switch gear, or it can be both combination horizontally and vertically, and this busbar system will be designed as per the amount of power it is receiving from the system for distribution, and through the busbar system all this equipment, all the switching devices are connected through the busbar system, and the busbar system is responsible to receive the power and transfer the power to the consumers. So it will be the main part of the switch gear. So that is for typical arrangement. I have drawn on the diagram in advance. This is I have typical 6.6 kV switch gear. We have drawn over here. That switch gear has a 2 incomer with a bus coupler. This is a 1 incomer. The power which is receiving, which is supplying power to the switch gear, we say incomer, and the feeders which is going to the consumer, that is we call outgoing feeder. So there are 2 incomer, 1 incomer, 2, and then there is a bus coupler. There is a 2-section bus bar to facilitate the operation. Depending on the situation, it could happen all the 3 are closed. This breaker, bus coupler, all 3 are closed. Depending on the same operation, it may happen that this only out of 3, 2 will be closed at one time, other will be open. So either this 2 incomer will be on, bus coupler is off. That means each incomer will be feeding separately, or it could happen one of the incomer is off, then one incomer and bus coupler is closed, then the entire switch gear will be supplied by one incomer. It may happen that both the incomer is on and bus coupler is also on, or all these are running with a parallel to each other. Okay, that also possible. So now when we are looking into this is, and then these are the outgoing feeder. I have shown typical various type of feeder. One of the feeder, this is your transformer feeder, this is the motor feeder, this is your zigzag transformer which we have already discussed. Then this is your capacitor bank. There could be a feeder, a capacitor bank, which I have not shown over here. You can draw over here. There is a capacitor bank. Suppose this is a capacitor bank feeder. Suppose this is grounded. This is a capacitor bank feeder. So this type of various feeders we have, which we have already discussed previously, how they protect all these feeders. This is a zigzag transformer feeders. So all this feeder, now look into how these devices are mounted. Suppose first a switching device. So as it is 6.6 kV switch gear, we have considered this is a circuit breaker. So all the feeders has a circuit breaker here. You see all are circuit breaker. This is a symbol I have used for the circuit breaker for this 6.6 kV. So 6.6 kV, these are the circuit breaker. So this is a switching device. This switching device can be operated manually or for switching on, switching off, as well as during fault condition. When there is a fault in the feeder, then it can be operated automatically through the protection relay. That CTPT will sense the fault, then it will give command to the protection relay. Protection relay will operate and it will facilitate to treat the circuit breaker at abnormal condition. So this circuit breaker can do the switching operation at normal condition, either manually or automatically, and it can also operate in abnormal condition during fault condition automatically through the protection devices. So this is called the switching device. This switching device could be circuit breaker, it could be isolator, it could be on-load isolator in case of 6.6 kV, or it could happen that both circuit breaker and isolator both are included in the switching device. Suppose 22 kV onward, we put the isolator before the breaker to operate, to facilitate the maintenance of the breaker, circuit breaker. So this is the switching device. Now the protection device, I have shown a typical arrangement. The CT is here and there will be a PT on the bus side. This will be PT. Maybe some of the protection relay need a PT supply. So this PT and CT is connected for the protection relay, for the protection purpose, and this is the protection device, that the protection relay. So that is also included. Then the metering, we have shown over here the CT, and then PT supply can be going to the metering. This is a metering device, and then there is a CT and PT supply. That is also a metering device is there. Then the various sensor means the CTPT. This is I have shown over here the CTPT. This is also part of the switch gear. Then the various the monitoring device, which that means this feeder is has a indication lamps like on off trip indication lamp. Then power supply. This indication lamp status of the supply condition of this. All these things we can monitor through a indication lamp. That is also included in the switch gear. Then it has a communication facility. This relay or the meter could have a communication facility. It has a port remote facility, IS-485 port or 235 port to get the signal from here either through laptop or to the remote. That is communication facility also available there. So all these devices is included inside the switch gear. So this is a part of the switch gear. If you say this is a part of my switch gear, this portion is the switch gear and this is the outside of the switch gear. So this equipment which are connected to the outgoing meter, this is outside, but including the metering CTPT and including circuit breaker, including this is your main bus bar. This is part of the switch gear. So when we talk about the switch gear, we understand switch gear means it is a piece of equipment enclosed with a metal, enclosed within the metal body, where we have housed all the circuit breaker switching devices, all the protection metering devices, all the CTPTs, all the indication lamp, communication facilities, all are included inside, including the main bus bar. It is included in the switch gear. Now, why the called gear is coming into picture? Because if you see the switch gear, it could be draw out type. When you put the switch gear inside the cubicle, we use a lever handle. Through the gear system, it goes out, and then it has a tripping coil, close coil, spring charging arrangement with the DC motors. All this thing has a lot of mechanical item in the switch gear, in the switching cubicle, and that's why maybe gear terminology has come. Because when you racking in, racking out, it is going through a gear arrangement. So that gear arrangement and including all this mechanical operation, that tripping, closing, spring charging, all this thing, I think the gear terminology has come from there. So that's why we call it switch gear. Okay. Now this is the more or less about the switch gear. So in a brief, we can say finally, switch gear is a piece of equipment which consists a bus bar system which is receiving and distributing power, and that bus bar system is connected to the circuit breakers which is handling the switching operation. Along with this, these devices contain all the metering, protection, CT, PT, monitoring arrangement, communication facilities. All this thing is enclosed within the switch gear. So this is in a brief in a switch gear. It could be various level of switch gear. It could be. Now this switch gear, mainly we terminology the switch gear as a two part. One part we call normally the switch gear as per various specification. Switch gear are classified in two category. First of all, switch gear, it could be indoor, outdoor. In the case of outdoor switch gear, we call it switch yard. But in case of indoor, we call it a switch gear. It could be a 132 kV switch gear. It could be 66 kV switch gear. It could be 33 kV switch gear. It could be 6.6 kV. It could be 415 volt switch gear. At various voltage level, it could happen. We'll discuss about the various voltage level afterwards. So this is a switch gear. Now second part is this switch gear. When you look into the switch gear, we are talking only mainly in case of indoor switch gear, which is located inside the building or inside indoor area, not outdoor. That means in case of indoor switch gear or switch gear, this switch gear we say mainly two type of switch gear. One is called metal enclosed switch gear. Another is a metal clad switch gear. It is actually not per IEC, it is as per ANSI. They classified in two way. One is a metal enclosed switch gear. Another is a metal clad switch gear. Now mainly as per ANSI, metal enclosed switch gear means which we use in the low voltage switch gear, and where the switching operation can be done either manually or automatically, but mainly it is a manually. That we call as a metal enclosed switch gear, and this voltage level should not be more than 635 volt in case of when you say metal enclosed switch gear. But when you talk about metal clad switch gear, that will be not for voltage will be not less than 1000, it will be more than 1000 volt, and all the switching device operation shall be not manually, should be automatic operation, means through the push button or electrically operated, not manually operated. Okay, so normally from that point classification we can note down that in case of metal enclosed switchgear, it is only mainly for the low voltage switchgear we term as a metal enclosed switchgear. But when you go for this more than 1 kV voltage switchgear, we can tell it's a metal clad switchgear. Okay, this is the mainly two type of indoor switchgear: metal enclosed and metal clad. Now this switchgear with this all various devices. Now we have now we can see the how many feeders are in the switchgear. So what are the different type of feeder a switchgear could have? Now from the single line diagram which I have drawn a typical switchgear, there is an incomer and then there is a bus coupler and then various outgoing feeders. Now if you see the each outgoing feeder protection, we have already discussed this is your transformer feeder. Now for the transformer feeder, we have already discussed about the protection of the transformer feeder. For the transformer feeder, what we have discussed, that we have I have written over here what the protection we have discussed for the transformer feeder depending on the various size. In generalized way, big transformer we have said will provide instantaneous overcurrent protection 50, will provide IDM to overcurrent protection 51, will provide a differential protection 87, then 87N also will give differential protection for earth fault and overcurrent. Then will give, depending on the importance of the transformer, will give restricted earth fault on the neutral. When the winding which is connected to neutral to grounded, that winding will give restricted earth fault, that is also there. Then we have said that on the neutral, on the face side, we'll put a 50 on N protection. Then we'll provide a 50 on G on the neutral. If the neutral is grounded, the neutral will give 50 on G. Then we have said that if the transformer is a cable connected and cable can include a CBCT, then instead of 50N, we'll give a 50G protection with a CBCT. That will be quick operation based on this current flux summation. Then we have seen in the transformer, we have over temperature devices like a oil temperature indicator, winding temperature indicator, that is 49, oil temperature, winding pressure we have. Then we have a Bocuse relay or the pressure relief device 63 we have. Then we have a oil level gauge also we have. And we have said in case of generator transformer, we have to give the V/F protection, that is overfluxing protection, that is called 99. These are the major protection we have discussed about the transformer feeder. Similarly, for the motor feeder, what we have said, for the motor feeder, we will provide instantaneous overcurrent, IDM to overcurrent. Then we will provide a neutral earth fault 50 on N on the face side. Then we will give the unbalanced protection based on the voltage or current, that is a 46 is the best of the current, 46 unbalanced protection. Then we will give you 49 over temperature protection through the on the winding by RTD. For the transformer, for the motor we will provide, or in the small motor by thermal overload relay, 49 we are providing. Then we put the bearing over temperature, then bearing vibration also we provide. Then we provide a lock rotor protection of the motor 50 on LR. Then we provide that in case of synchronous motor, we put a loss of excitation protection. Then we provide the out of step protection for the synchronous motor. Then for the motor, we put if the motor a big size, we go for the differential protection of the motor. That is also we have discussed. Then in case of synchronous motor, we give the rotor earth fault protection by injection method. That also we have discussed. Then we have discussed about the how many starts you can give into the motor. That is that 66 protection, number of starts protection, that also we have discussed. Then motor when is running a pump, we have provided the underpower protection or undercurrent protection. That is a 37 we have discussed. In case of lock rotor in protection, we have said that if the lock rotor time is withstand time is less than motor starting time, in that case normal lock rotor overcurrent protection we cannot provide. We have to go by the speed switch. So that 12 speed switch protection we have discussed. We have discussed about the under frequency protection of the motor. Then we have discussed under voltage protection of the motor 27. That also we have discussed. Then we have discussed over voltage protection of the motor. That is also we have discussed. These are the various protection we are generally we provide for the big size of motors. Then in case of your generator, we have discussed all the protection. This incomer, it could be generator incomer or it could be transformer, it could be tie feeder from the source. So in case of generator, we have discussed how the generator feeder will be protected. Generator feeder, all the protection we have discussed, like a differential protection 87, then voltage resistant overcurrent and voltage control overcurrent 50 on V. Then for the generator, we put 64R. When the generator neutral is grounded, we put 64 restricted earth fault. We put a starter over temperature protection. Then we put grounding. If there is a transformer is grounded, the neutral is grounded, then we put 50 on G protection on the neutral. Then on the face side, we provide 50 on N protection. Then we provide current unbalanced protection, voltage loss protection 60. We go with the reverse. In case of parallel generator, we provide a reverse power protection, then under power protection or under current. Then we provide a bearing temperature, bearing vibration. Then we go to overfluxing protection when it is a generator transformer connected with this 99. Then we give under frequency, over frequency protection 81, under voltage protection, loss of field protection, then 40. Then we provide 78 out of step protection also we provide. Then we provide that is out of step protection 78. Then over voltage protection also we provide. If the V by F ratio is not constant, then we provide over voltage protection also for the generators. This is all we have discussed already. And the zigzag transformer also we have discussed last session, that in the case of zigzag transformer, for internal fault we provide instantaneous overcurrent, instantaneous IDMT overcurrent protection, and through the delta connected CT. And for the arc fault protection we provide 51 in protection. And for external fault protection, what we do, we provide a protection on the delta connection secondary CT on the zigzag transformer. Capacitor bank we have discussed, we provide a 50-51 protection. Then we give unbalanced protection. Then the high voltage protection we provide by the surge arrestor, or we say lighting arrestor or surge arrestor, through the 59. Over voltage protection also we provide for the capacitor bank. These are the various protection, various type of feeder protection we have already discussed and covered in the various last 10 sessions. So only thing which we have not covered so far, that is this incomer. If the incomer is not this generator incomer or the transformer incomer, suppose this is the incomer for the transformer for this board, we have already discussed. But if this feeder is a normal feeder connecting from the utility company, or it could be tie feeder like this. Suppose this is a 6.6 kV switch gear, it is going another feeder to 6.7, it is 1 kilometer away. For this type of, or 500 meter away, for this type of feeder, what are the protection for this incomer? Suppose this is the incomer, for this incomer, or suppose this is the incomer, it is connected to the utility 6.6 kV board. Suppose 6.6 kV overhead line is going, from there his power is coming over here. So for this type of incomer, or this tie feeder, or this type of tie feeder, what will be the protection we should provide? That part we have not discussed so far. So we will discuss, before starting the switchgear protection, we will discuss this part. Why I am telling this thing? When you are talking about the switchgear protection, means incomer protection, all the outgoing feeder protection, and the busbar protection. Switchgear protection consisting of three parts. One part is a incomer protection, outgoing feeder protection, and then your busbar protection. So as the outgoing feeder, all the outgoing feeder protection we have already discussed, except the tie feeder. And incomer we have already discussed. There are three type of incomer. There could be, one is a generator incomer, another is a transformer incomer, or it could be from the utility company connection, could be incomer. So transformer incomer and the generator incomer already we have discussed. Transformer incomer means this type of transformer feeder that we have already discussed. Generator we have already discussed. Now only we have to discuss about the tie connection from the utility company, or this type of tie connection. What will be the protection we should provide? After that we will go to the switchgear protection or busbar protection. Okay. Now that means switchgear protection means we will simply say switchgear protection means it consisting of three parts. One part is a incomer protection. Number one, switchgear protection consisting of three. One is a incomer protection. Number two is your outgoing feeder protection. Number three is your busbar protection. Busbar protection. These are the three parts for the switchgear protection. Now, outgoing feeder protection we have already completed, except the tie feeder that we will discuss. Incomer protection also we have already completed. Generator, transformer we have already discussed. Only the incomer as a tie connection that we will discuss. And the busbar protection we will discuss another part. So these are the things are pending. Now when you look into the tie connection, so what type of protection we should provide for the tie connection? Now when now it has a, suppose I am drawing one simple drawing. Suppose this is a incomer, okay, this is a busbar, and from here there is another incomer is going to the remote. Suppose this is another switch gear. Suppose this is a 6.6 kV. So this is one incomer. Now normally this type of application, normally what we provide? We provide simply, here we provide a CT, and then we provide a 50 and 51 protection. Okay, 50 plus timer and 51 N protection. Sometimes we do not provide 50, we provide 51 and 51 in protection for this type of 6.6 kV or 11 kV. Okay. But here is sometimes for this type of distribution system, if it is suppose there is another tie is going from here, it could happen. 6.6 kV from here, another tie is going to another switch gear, another 6.6 kV switch gear. If this type of multiple levels are there, 3 level, 1, 2, 3 level, in that case, everywhere if we provide this type of 50, 51, 51 and 51 in, suppose you are providing this type of protection everywhere, then problem will be, suppose here is also we are providing 51 and 51 in. So this breaker, when there is a fault here, then this will be operating maybe in 0.3 second. Then it will be coordinated with this, it will be 0.6 second. So even if these two breakers we give the same time, this will be coming to 0.9 seconds. That means due to the coordination, as this is a solid connection, fault level will not be very much difference. That means when the fault is over here, in that case, if this fault is not cleared, then it will be cleared by 9 seconds. But if the fault is over here, as the fault current for here and here will not be very much different, it is only solid cable connection, minor difference. So in that case, even the fault is over here, it will be operating in 0.9 second or maybe minor less, maybe 0.7 second like that. So we have to wait, even the fault on this here, due to this long time delay, we have to wait up to 0.7 second. By that time, the equipment will be overstressed due to high fault current. Sometimes it is not acceptable. So if this type of long feeder connection is there, in that case, normal overcurrent and 51 and residual connection or summation current asphalt protection is not always acceptable considering the criticality of the switch gear. In that case, to reduce the timing, what we do, instead of this protection we provide as a secondary protection. But in addition to this, we provide a separate CT with a distance protection 21, and from the bus we put PT, we take the supply. So this is a operating on the impedance measurement. Suppose when we put this distance protection 21 over here, so it will be looking from here the fault location. Suppose in that case, what we'll do, when we provide a distance protection for the incomer, what we'll do, or the outgoing feeder, whatever it could be, maybe this is one of the feeder. Suppose this is the incomer is coming over here, and then this is the outgoing feeder. From here, it is going to another switch gear. Suppose here we are putting maybe distance protection 21. We are connecting to the PT over here. Okay, this is the arrangement. Now, what we will do in this case? In this case, this will be operating as a instantaneously, maybe 100 milliseconds. How? The distance protection as a 3-step protection. It's called zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. That are the three area. Now, zone 1 normally from here, suppose it is 1 kilometer. This distance of the cable or overhead line, whatever is there. 80% of this, 80% of the Ds will be considered as zone 1. So when the fault is within 80% of the line, then instantly it will operate, maybe it will be operating 100 milliseconds. Then we classify zone 2 is a 120% from there. So it will be covering this bus bar. This will be maybe 120%. If we want, we can put 120%, so it will cover. It will be, suppose it is 100 milliseconds, zone 2 will be operated at maybe 350 milliseconds. That means if the fault within the 80%, immediately this 21 will be operating instantly. Based on this, we will divide the classification over here. Otherwise, this protection we can provide over here. So it will cover this bus bar, and then it will look from here to downward up to 80%. That is also we can do. And then zone 2 will be 120%, it will cover up to this bus bar. And then the zone 3 will be going up to the next bus bar, it will be operating at another 250 seconds, means 600 milliseconds. So in this way, we can expedite, we can reduce the time of operation. So when we have a multiple connections, in that case what we do, this is one of the way we do. We do by distance protection, that is simple protection, and with the distance, if it is not a very high voltage, if not more than 11 kV, we provide 22 distance relay over here. The distance will be monitoring the up to 80% of the line. If the 80% of the line fault is within there, immediately it will be instantly, it will be operating. Based on that, we can coordinate this one. That is one of the option. Other option, we can provide a line differential between these two. Between these two, we can put a line differential. Instead of this protection, we can provide a CT on both sides, and then we can provide 87 L, line differential relay between these two. In that case, we have to put a pilot wire between these two, either fiber cable or control. If it is short distance, we can put a fiber cable or control cable between these two to communicate between these two CT. So this way also we can provide the line differential if it is very important. So it is a normally up to 11 kV, we do not use the line differential. If it is more than 11 kV, we go by the line differential. Otherwise, either overcurrent. If it is a multiple step, then in that case, one step we provide by the distance protection so that it will operate instantly. After that, it will be coordinating. So in the next arrangement, we will be discussing about that line protection. At that time, with distance protection, we will be discussed in details. So this is the way we can provide, we can protect the this even we this tie feeder or this outgoing this type of tie feeder. But even we use the either 21 or 87L, but still we will be using 50 and 51 and 51N as a backup. When we even this incomer, if we provide a distance protection over here, so distance protection will be acting as a primary protection. If we provide a 21 over here distance protection, that will be acting as a primary protection, but still we will be using another CT to provide 51 and 51N protection. That will be act as a backup. Primary distance protection will be the primary protection, and 51 and 51N will be backup protection. That is the practice for this type of feeder. Okay. So this is about this tie feeder protection. Now after this, we will go into this bus bar protection, switch gear protection. Now before going to this, we want to discuss about the switch gear bus bar protection. Now whether we implement the bus bar protection or not, because so incoming outgoing feeder all protection is covered. Now we have to discuss about the switch gear bus bar protection. Now when we talk about the bus bar protection is how important. Depending on that, we have to decide what type of protection we will provide for the bus bar. Okay. Now one thing we have to keep in mind, we have to mind that switch gear has a different voltage level. As for IEC, there are three voltage grade. We call it very low voltage, then the medium, low, very low voltage, then low voltage. Low voltage we say up to 1 kV or 635 volt, or up to 1 kV we call low voltage. And if the voltage is more than 1 kV, then we call high voltage. These are the three classifications as per IEC. High voltage means more than 1 kV. Above 1 kV, whatever the voltage, all are high voltage. In IEC, there is no other category. There is a extra low voltage, extra ELV, then LV is up to 1 kV, and above 1 kV we call extra high voltage. But we not extra, we call simply high voltage. There is no extra or ultra high voltage as per IEC. But if you go to ANSI or IEEE grade book or ANSI, then there is a various voltage grade as per this ANSI or IEEE. They say LV they set up to 635 volt, which is equal to 1 kV. Then they set up to 1 kV to 33 kV. This part we as per ANSI or IEEE they call a medium voltage. Okay. Then 33 kV onward, more than 33 kV to up to your 635 kV. Sorry, 66 132 kV. 33 kV to 132 kV, they call it HV. And then 132 kV to 635 kV, it is called extra high voltage, EHV. And above 635 kV, whatever the voltage, that voltage we call extra ultra high voltage, UHV. UHV we said above, it will be above 635 kV. Whatever the voltage, 1000 kV or 800 kV, all voltage we call ultra high voltage. As for ANSI IEEE, this is the classification where we are also sometimes you use medium voltage, high voltage, extra high voltage. So this is, but as for IEC, there is no so many classifications. So if the voltage is within the medium voltage, okay, normally bus bar protection we consider full bus bar protection in case of up to 6.6 kV or 11 kV. Up to 11 kV, up to 6.6 kV, we do not consider any bus bar protection. Incomer protection will be treated as bus bar protection. That means what is that? Suppose this is a breaker and this is a bus bar. Okay. Now whatever the protection we are providing over here, suppose we said 51 and 51N. This protection actually means for this bus bar protection. Up to 11 kV, up to 6.6 kV, this is the protection we provide for the bus bar. We don't give any other protection. But in 11 kV, we provide this protection. In addition to this, we can give slightly different type of bus bar protection, simple bus bar protection. But if this voltage is more than 11 kV, suppose 15 kV onward, up to 33 kV, 15 kV onward, then we have to go for the bus bar complete protection. Okay, so after 11 kV we can give simple this protection. Otherwise, with this protection we give some simple form of bus bar protection, simple form. So this will work as a backup and that will be act as a primary. But if the voltage is above 11 kV, then generally we go for the bus bar protection as a separate bus bar protection along with a backup protection. Okay, that is normal practice. Now, when we are talking about this bus bar protection, now this bus bar protection we can classify under three different categories. Okay, one is we call is a bus bar. You know this, though this practice nowadays we are not following at all. All the old practice, all the old installation, we could see this type of protection. That is a or earth fault protection only. It is about 40 years, 50 years back we use this protection. So some of the existing installation may have this protection. So our friends who are working with the existing installation, they may have this protection. But nowadays, this particular protection which we are going to discuss, that is not in use, frankly speaking. So considering the various protection available for the bus bar, we can classify under this following category. One is a, we call this frame leakage protection. Frame leakage protection. This is a, actually it is earth fault protection of the bus bar system. This protection is only provide earth fault protection. It does not provide any phase fault. Okay, this is a frame leakage protection. This protection, previously we used this protection for the bus bar system and no other protection, but nowadays this protection we are not, it is obsolete, we are not using this protection. Second protection is a partial differential protection. Okay, partial differential protection. This is another form of protection. Mainly Aramco use this protection if it is a 6.6 kV or 11 kV, even up to 15 kV. If it is not very important switch gear, they use this partial differential protection scheme. Then third protection scheme, which we always use, that is called differential protection scheme. Differential protection. That is also we are using for this differential for this bus bar system. So mainly these are the three different protection we use. One is a frame leakage protection, another is a partial differential protection, and is a complete differential protection. This complete differential protection, it could be three different category. As a conventional differential, then it could be this is a bias or restrained bias differential protection. This is another form of protection, and then another is a high impedance voltage balance or voltage high impedance voltage differential protection, voltage based differential protection. This is another form of protection. These are this under differential protection. There is a three category. One is a conventional current circulation protection. There is a bias or restraint differential protection, and then high impedance voltage differential protection. These are the three differential under differential protection. So frame leakage protection is the old protection we use for the earth fault protection, but nowadays this is we are not using. So depending on the importance, this partial differential protection, mainly Aramco they use it, but we can also use this partial differential protection, and then we have a complete differential protection for the switchgear. If the switchgear is important, then we have to discuss. But this differential protection normally we provide if the switchgear is 15 kV and above. Otherwise, we do not go by the differential protection. Okay. Now let us discuss the frame leakage protection, how this is done. Frame leakage protection is actually the earth fault protection. How we provide this protection? This is a simply the switch gear. During installation, we install the switch gear completely insulated from the earth. Suppose I am drawing a simple one switch gear, single bus switch gear. Suppose this is a incomer and this is a switch gear. Suppose this is a one incomer and two incomers, and this is a switch gear. There is a various outgoing feeders are going from here, and this is a switch gear. Okay, this is a metal clad switch gear, suppose 6.6 kV. This is switch gear, 6.6 kV switch gear. So this frame we install on the surface, but there will be insulation on this switch gear. Switch gear will be insulated. Okay, insulated from the floor so that it will not be grounded. Then this frame, when it is insulated from the frame and then it is a grounded, then the switch gear is grounded, this frame is grounded to the earth. Okay, this is the way, only one grounding will be there. Except this grounding, there is no other grounding of the switch gear. This switch gear enclosure will be totally insulated from the floor or from the structure where it is mounting, only this frame will be, one point the frame will be grounded. And if there is a multiple panels, each panel will be bonded to each other. And this bonding, there will be bonding bar, and that bonding bar will be connected to the ground bar. Okay. So this will be connected by a ground bar. And then that means the frame is ultimately the frame. When this is a connection, all the frames are interconnected. Then frame is connected to the arch bus. This is the arch bus, and this arch bus is there, and this frame is grounded. This is the way this is done. This is a frame leakage arrangement. Now, how we protect this switchgear from the frame leakage? What do we do? We connect on this portion. Now, on this portion, we provide this is a connection. Now, this is a frame is connected to a, I draw a slightly better way over here. All these frames are interconnected here. Now, suppose this is the arch bus. Now, this frame will be connected to the arch bus, and we provide a CT over here. And the CT contain a 51 or 50 N relay with a timer, arc fault relay. Okay. So what is happened? Normal condition, it is operating fine. When there is a arc fault anywhere in the bus bar, this is the bus bar. Okay. If the bus bar has an arc fault, what will happen? The bus bar will be coming in contact with the frame. That is how because in all switchgear, the bus bar is enclosed inside a enclosure, separate enclosure. Switchgear is enclosed, again inside the switchgear bus bar is again enclosed, another bus bar chamber. So this bus bar, if it is grounded, only possibility it will come in contact with the frame. Any that particular frame. Suppose this is one of the panel. So if this section bus bar come to the contact to the frame, so it will coming in contact to the frame, and all the frames are interconnected to the ground bus. So the moment it come to the frame will be charged. Suppose this bus bar is at 6.6 kV. The moment the bus bar come to the contact to the frame will be 6.6 kV. And this 6.6 kV, this arc connection from here frame, that means it is connected over here. So immediately the frame will be connected to the arc bus, and then the arc bus will be connected to the ground. So immediately this frame will be 6.6 kV and this ground. So immediately current will be flowing from here to here. So when this current is flowing through this, immediately this relay will be operating, and it will trip all the breakers. All the breaker it will trip. In case of bus bar, the bus bar protection, when bus bar protection operated, then that bus bar protection relay will operate all the feeders which are connected to this bus section. That is the principle of the bus bar protection. So with this principle, all the feeder will be tripped from here. So there is no power in the bus bar will be dead. Okay, this is for the single bus bar arrangement. Now, if there is one thing we need to discuss in case of two bus bar arrangement. Suppose this is a single bus bar. Now for the second bus bar, before going to another arrangement, here it may happen there is a mal-operation of this. That's why normally bus bar protection, when we provide a check facilities. So we do not depend only on the one relay. What we find a source. That means this is the outgoing feeder. Suppose one of the incomer has a transformer here. Suppose this feeder is a transformer feeder. The transformer has a suppose delta star connection, and star is grounded. So in that case, what we do? This grounding, this star grounding and this frame grounding, we make a common grounding. We do not make two separate grounding. What we do? From the frame, we bring this neutral point on this point, and then we ground it. And here we put a CT. So in that case, what will happen? We give a cross check. We want to make sure that before operating the bus, because dangerous of this bus bar protection, when this bus bar protection operating, all the feeder will be off. So if there is some mal operation, then unnecessary power will be off for the entire switchgear and the entire plant will be off. That's why we always provide a check facility. Means two protection operate is a 2 out of 3 booting. We do the booting operation. So when we give another protection for this bus bar protection to operate, so that is we do. How we do that? We generally the source which is giving power, that has a neutral point. On that neutral point, when there is an arc fault, the neutral current will flow through this also, because when there is an arc fault in the bus bar arc fault, immediately arc fault current will be flow through these also. So this relay also has there is another 51N relay over here, or 51G relay. So this relay contact and this relay contact, both we connect in series. Suppose this is one relay contact, that is your frame leakage protection relay. Okay, 50 plus 2 contact, and then here we have a 51G relay contact. these two connected in series. Suppose this is a positive and this is a negative DC supply. When both are operating, then only it will go to the trip coil. Is a breaker trip coil. Breaker trip coil. This is actually not going to breaker trip coil. Actually, we send to the lockout relay. This is a 86 lockout relay of bus bar. So when this 50N is operating, the same fault current is passing through this, coming back to the neutral. Because suppose this is a red phase is grounded. So this system red phase, this is a delta. This red phase is coming over here. So this will be coming like this. The fault current will come through this. It is coming to the frame. From the frame, it will pass through this. It will go over here. So the neutral will come back. So both this CT will sense the fault current. So both the CT and both the relay will operate. When both relay will operating, then it will energize a bus bar lockout relay 86B. Then 86B has a multi-wheel contact. Those contacts are tripping all this breaker. So the breaker, all the switch gear will be off. So this is a cross-check facility of the switch gear. That is for the single bus bar arrangement, how the earth leakage protection we provide. Now, if we consider a bus section, the same earth leakage protection, if we provide in different, not for this your one bus bar arrangement, it could be split bus bar, it could be two section of the bus bar, which we normally most of the switch gear is like this. If this is the arrangement of the bus bar, in that case, this earth leakage protection or single earth leakage protection will not, what will happen? It will unnecessarily trip all the system. Why you provide this type of arrangement? Suppose if there is any fault over here, then only we want this part to be isolated, not the entire part. Similarly, if there is a fault over here, then only this part will be isolated, other part will not be isolated, it will be maintaining the power. But if the fault on the bus coupler, then all will be tripped. That is the normal logic of this arrangement. So previous arrangement which we show for the single bus bar, that is tripping all the feeders. So we cannot use that one. So here we have to isolate this thing. So how we'll do that? Actually, when this type of arrangement we have, in the case of earth leakage, frame leakage protection, we divide this switch gear into three parts. This is the one part of the switch gear. This is another part of the switch gear, and this is the third part of the switch gear. We call it zone. Suppose it is a zone 1, it is a zone 2, and it is a zone 3. These are the three divisions we make the switch gear depending on the three section. Okay. Now each section we do separate, and this each section is isolated from each other through the isolation barrier. Okay. This is one section. This section is isolated. So this each section is isolated from each other. Each frame. This frame is insulated. This frame is insulated from this frame. This frame is insulated from this frame. So if there is any frame earth fault over here, that will not be transferred over here. Similarly, if there is earth fault of the bus over here, it will not be transferred either over and here. So each section earth fault will be limited to that section. With this arrangement, what do? We provide a CT over here. We provide a separate earth connection. Each section has a separate earth connection. We make this frame we connected over here, grounded. Okay, there is a three earth connection. Each section, each insulated portion is a separately grounded. Okay, this is we made the grounding. Then what do? We provide a CT over here. We provide a CT over here. We provide a CT over here. And this CT is contain 50 N relay with a timer, earth fault relay. Okay, this is also same 50 plus 2. And here also we provide 50 plus 2. These are the relay we provide. So now when if there is earth fault in this section, suppose this bus bar is connected grounded over here, then what will happen? Immediately earth fault current will flow through this. These will operate. Okay. When these will operate, what we will do? When the first zone 1, I am deleting this part, zone 1 protection is operating, then zone 1 relay, this is a earth fault relay zone 1, it is a zone 1 relay, we can say Z1. This relay we call say Z2, we call say it is a Z3. Okay, these are the three names of the relay. When Z1, when this earth fault in this section Z1, then this Z1 relay will operate. So suppose this is a control supply positive and this is a control supply negative. Okay, so this is a, now what we'll do? We'll provide a Z1 relay contact, that is a Z1 relay contact. This relay Z1 relay contact this relay will energize two lockout relay. So okay, this is one lockout relay and this is another lockout relay. Okay, and then it will go to the negative side. Suppose this lockout relay, we say it is a K relay, and suppose this is a L1 relay. Okay, so when this Z1 will operate, that means when the fault is over here, then what will happen? Now if you see the power flow. Now all the feeder is connected over here, outgoing feeder. So these are the two incomer. Power is coming this way, power is coming this. Suppose this is one. Suppose this breaker is one, and all three are one. In that case, what will happen if the fault is over here? What is our requirement? This section should be isolated. So when this section, how is this section is getting power? This section getting power from here as well as getting power from this way. That means if I want to isolate the power of this section, I have to open this breaker, I have to open this circuit breaker also, right? These two circuit breakers. So when this section relay is getting picked up, that means Z1 relay is picked up, our target we have to trip this breaker, this breaker. So what we are doing, we are putting two lockout relay K and L1. K lockout relay contact will trip this breaker, K lockout relay. Not only this breaker, and all the outgoing feeder from here. Whatever the outgoing feeder going from here, this K is a lockout relay. You can say 86K, and it is a L1. Now 86K lockout relay, we have already said lockout relay is a multiple contacts. So depending, suppose there is a 10 feeder going from here, and there is the incomer total 11 feeder. So we will select a lockout relay which maybe has 15 contact. So those 15 out of 15 contact, 11 contact will be tripping all this breaker. So that then it will trip. And this L1 relay, what we will do, we will connect this L1 relay over here. This L1 relay contact will connect over here, okay? And it will operate another lockout relay. Suppose that lockout relay we can say 86L, okay? This is a 86L lockout relay. This L1 contact is connected to 86L lockout relay. This 86 lockout relay does not need a more number of contacts, maybe 5 contacts. One of the contact will be tripping this breaker. So 86L has a multiple contact. One of the contact will be tripping this. That means when Z1 relay, this earth fault relay operating, immediately what will happening? All the outgoing feeder incomer tripping by 86L, and L1 is activating another lockout relay 86L that is tripping this breaker. So this is getting off, this is getting off. So this section is not getting any power, so it is protected. So this way this is going. Similarly, when there is a fault on this section, suppose this section bus bar connect to the ground, immediately this relay, zone 3 relay will be operating, then it will be working the same way. Here what will happen? Then instead of zone 1, it will be zone, suppose it will be zone 3 relay will be operating. Suppose this 86L we call it as M relay, okay? So and this L1 you call L2, okay? L2. So what will happen when this relay will be operating? Immediately 86 M relay will trip this breaker. It is K and it is 86 M relay tripping this breaker and all the outgoing feeder from this section. And this L2 relay will do our, we put another L2 relay in contact to this. This is a L2. So when L2 will operate, immediately the 86 L relay will operate. So 86 L relay contact will be tripping this. That means this bus cable will be operating in two situations. When this is operating, in that case through L1 it will be operating, and when this section is earth fault, then through the L2 relay this 86L is operating and is tripping, okay? And when the fault is in this section, suppose this zone 2 relay is operating, then what will happen? Zone 2 relay, when zone 2 relay operating, then this is a zone 2 relay, Z2 relay. When Z2 relay is operating, then we will put 86, another zone will connect. When this we connect another 86 L lockout relay, 86, suppose 86 L 86 or simply 86 we can say lockout relay, will connect to 86 lockout relay, and this 86, suppose this is zone 2, this bus coupler panel. When 86 will operate, all the feeders will be tripped. All the feeders. When 86 operate means there is a fault on the bus bar, then all the feeder will be tripped. So this will be multiple number of contact will be here. Otherwise we have to do another way we can do. In that another way we can connect 86 Z2 contact, zone 2 contact over here, connect to this, as well as zone 2 contact we have to connect in here also, and that can trip bulb. But in that case that relay has a multiple contact. So better we put zone 2 as a separate relay, and then it will be operating 86. This is one of the way. So this is all about, but this is the nowadays it is obsolete protection, and most of the cases we are not using this protection. But here one thing we have to mention, this we said that when this switchgear is to be installed on the floor, it should be insulated from the floor, and the insulation resistance it should be approximately 10 ohm. approximately 10 ohm, that this is the switch gear panel we are installing on the insulator, and then this is insulated, and then it is grounded over here. Okay, so when it is insulated, it should be 10 ohm resistance approximately of this portion, then it will get to the ground connection. Otherwise what will happen, so the intention of this 10 ohm resistance, because when the neutral is connected, we have seen that the neutral is connected here through the electrode, it is resistance about 1 ohm, and if this for external earth fault, if this resistance less than 10 ohm, then it may happen for external earth fault also the bus bar will be operating. That's why normally we reduce the current 1/10, total fault current 1/10. In case of external earth fault, we limit the fault current about 1/10 of the total fault, and rest of the fault current will go through this and it will send the external earth fault. To reduce the current of 1/10, we put 10 times resistance, the insulation resistance we make it 10 times, so that only 1/10 of the current will flow in, and normally 30% setting we give on the frame leakage protection. So frame leakage protection will not operate for external earth fault if we make the 10 ohm, but if it less than 10 ohm, there is a chance of operation. That's why the switch gear, when we install, we measure the earth resistance of the insulation from the earth level, true earth level, it should be approximately 10 ohm. This is one of the things to be taken into consideration for the frame leakage protection. So this is all about the frame leakage protection. Then I think we have already completed 45 minutes. So next session we will discuss about partial differential scheme and the partial differential and the full differential scheme. If we will try to close in one session, one part, one next session. So that will be completing our bus bar protection. Thank you very much indeed for joining with this discussion, and we'll be keeping up, we'll be continuing this discussion till we are completing the protection system. Please keep it up. Thank you very much.